And extend my remarks,
Without
and I
objection.
yield myself such time as I may
The
consume.
gentleman is recognized.
It's been nearly a year and a half since the President signed the $1 trillion stimulus bill into law, and now the majority's come up with a new Make It in America agenda, which begs the question, if the stimulus was such a success, why don't we already make it in America? The facts are, after stimulus, the unemployment rate continues to hover near 10%, well above the 8% we were promised. Instead of creating or saving 3.7 million jobs, over 2.6 million private sector jobs have been lost, including over 707,000 manufacturing jobs and nearly 100,000 in my home state of Michigan. Overall, 47 out of 50 states have lost jobs. Now, we used to make it in America, and if Democrats would stop passing bills that spend more money on state and local governments instead focus on small businesses, we might actually see the real, sustained private sector job creation Americans need. In fact, I have a letter here from the United States Chamber of Commerce, the world's largest business federation representing more than 3 million businesses, and they oppose this bill. And I ask unanimous consent to insert it in the record.
Without objection.
And let me just read you what that letter says, what real job creators think about this bill. The Chamber says this bill would, and I quote, impose draconian tax increases on American and worldwide companies that would hinder job creation, decrease the competitiveness of American businesses, and deter economic growth, end quote. And I want to repeat that. This bill would impose draconian tax increases on American worldwide companies that would hinder job creation, decrease the competitiveness of American businesses, and deter economic growth. That's right. This bill raises taxes on employers during a recession, making it tougher for Americans to find needed work. You cannot expect to increase jobs in this country when you're increasing taxes. It just doesn't work. Yet that's exactly what the majority is proposing to do in this bill. Now, this bill does closely resemble a bill the majority has already pushed through the House once before, H.R. 4849, the so-called Small Business and Infrastructure Jobs Tax Act of 2010. At the time, I said the bill was more about small governments than it was about small businesses. And since most of the bill was about aid to state and local governments instead of helping small businesses. And like H.R. 4849, the vast majority of spending in the bill today, a whopping $25.6 billion over 11 years, goes to state and local governments through various infrastructure incentives. These include a substantial increase in spending on the Build America Bonds program, a heavily subsidized spending program providing direct payments to state and local governments that issues these bonds. But small governments are not small businesses, and they do not create the kind of private sector jobs we need. But unlike H.R. 4849, however, the Democrats didn't even bother to provide token tax relief for small business in this bill. And in case you need more evidence that this bill isn't about helping U.S. employers or about helping Americans find jobs, just look at the extra $5 billion in welfare spending in this bill. So much money, the CBO, the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, says the states won't even be able to spend all of it. Democrats claim this spending is for jobs, but 75% of these welfare emergency funds that were already given to states have been spent on more welfare checks, not jobs. I urge my colleagues to vote no on increasing taxes on American employers, increasing taxes on American jobs, and to vote no on this legislation, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Levin.
I ask unanimous consent